Welcome to Clamp, the weekly podcast where we discuss all things related to creating, living, and making projects. I'm your host, Grant Alexander, and joining me as always is Jessy Ratfink and Adam Mackey. And this week, we're going on the road. But before we do that, we want to hear what's in your clamps. Adam?
So when I bought the bike that you can see, well, you can't see behind me because I can just see that the camera cuts it off. But the project that I'm working on at the moment, when I bought that, I borrowed a trailer off a family friend who said to me, you can keep the trailer because he was sick of storing it. So I got a free trailer, but it was all rusted out and rubbish. So I spent the last few days completely tearing it down. I took all the lights off. The wiring on the thing was so bad, like literally exposed wires touching the metal frame of the trailer. There's like literally a group of wires like an inch thick just taped together like a big ball. So I pulled all the wiring out, redid all the wiring, ran all new wiring and everything, so it's all one line now.
Nice.
And I put a new number plate light on because there wasn't one on there, which is technically illegal not to have one. So I installed one of those. I had one laying around from a bike. And then repainted.
Hold on.
Yes.
Is it illegal today, but it wasn't illegal when that trailer was made?
No, it's always illegal.
Really? Always?
Yeah.
Even when cars didn't have lights? They're powered by candles?
That trailer is not that old.
No, I'm just saying there's something that like bothers me so much is like you'll see these home renovation things. You're like, well, that's illegal. You're like, yeah, that house was built in 1940. Yeah, of course. Lead pipes not legal today, but of course, boom, yeah, definitely.
In saying illegal. That, I'm pretty sure a trailer doesn't qualify as much as a car does. So I know that here, like if you have a really old car that doesn't have indicators, for instance, you don't have to install them. You have to use like hand signals or whatever. But I think for a trailer, unless it's like a really old caravan or something, but like a box trailer like that, they would make you install the lights necessary.
Maybe.
But anyway, it did have one on there, but you can clearly see where one was that someone was taken off. So I did install a new one of those, and then I repainted the whole trailer frame and everything with bedliner paint, and it came up so good. I just went over it quickly with like a wire brush on the drill just to get rid of all the surface rust, blew it all off, and then sprayed it. And it was my first time using like the bedliner gun that I bought. I bought a gun with it came with two like metal tin cans that you screw onto the gun because I've got 4 liters of black and 6 liters of white, but they're not individually canned like you would normally buy like Raptor paint where it comes in the can ready to put on. So I needed to buy like a pretty much like its own container that I could put it in. And yeah, it was actually like it came out so well. And the reason like I bought it all for the Ranger when I had it, but now I'm going to use what's left of the black and all of the white to repaint the caravan. So the caravan's going to get completely done on the outside with bedliner paint, which I think will look pretty cool.
I think so.
It'll definitely look like bedliner paint. It won't look bad.
It'll look better than it does now.
Oh yeah, totally. I know the trailer looks great.
Thank you.
And I have no clue whether or not that will stand up to any abuse on the road, but it looks good. So hopefully
it looks better than it did. That's all I care about.
Yeah, man.
And at least now I don't have to worry about the friggin' car catching on fire or something due to that dodgy ass wiring.
Right. Well, the paint never would have helped that, but
yeah, exactly.
Jessy, what have you been up to?
So I poisoned myself first thing Saturday morning by eating some jam. I'm like super reactive to apples these days. They make me so sick. So even like a small amount, and I think maybe even just the amount of pectin that's in jam screwed me over. So I was sick and ruined my whole weekend. So I haven't gotten any farther with the fusion class, done anything. So I need to get back to fusion class, definitely.
Well, that doesn't sound very much fun, and I have nothing to add to that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't say anything other than it sucked a lot.
I did lots of Lego building since we last chatted. that's mainly what I've been dealing with. And my mother came to visit. She lives like 12 hours away.
Oh, wow.
Which for European people is like 17 countries away. But for people in Canada, that's just like 2 provinces over.
Yeah.
But she came to visit, and she had bought my son a giant Lego thing. And I'm pretty sure like it's supposed to be like a multi-day build, but I powered through it in like an hour and a half because that's how I do Lego builds. When the Millennium Falcon, I look at this thing and people are like, "Oh, look how many hours it took to build for me to build this." And I look at it and go, "Like a day? Did it take you like 12 hours? Like maybe 16? Like if you got drunk and it took a little while because you couldn't read anymore? Like, is that what happened? Because otherwise, like, yeah, it's a little bit big, but I don't understand what's taking everyone so long to build these Lego things. I don't get it.
I don't know that people have your sense of urgency about it. I think it's kind of relaxing for some folks. Like you come home and you do a little every day, like, but I am the same way. I want to power through it and just get it done.
Right. There's no it's all power through it. It's just you like all of them. You dump all the bags out. You do all the things. That's it. You just do it until it's done. You don't stop.
I knew
you don't
one
stop.
other
You don't do anything.
You did not dump all the bags out, you psychopath. You go bag 1, bag 2, bag 3.
When I grew up, there was no bag.
Yeah, we didn't have bags.
Yeah, there was no bags.
I know. You know what sucks is my son, he's 7, almost 8, and he loves doing Lego by himself now, like the kits by himself. I need someone to buy me a kit because I can't. I want to do Lego, but I can't because he wants to do it. And even like in the last few years, I have to do it with him. Like I need a kit that's specifically for me that I can do on my own because my wife keeps having to go at me and be like, let him do it. I'm like, but I want to do it.
Lego has some amazing kits. Like you should have a look.
Oh yeah.
Because I was wanting to buy some the other day and talked myself down.
So I'm pretty sure my son got the Andrew Zito starter pack. So he got a skate park, and then he got a
we got the skate
ramp.
park.
Then he got the ski hill that has a climbing wall on the side. And I'm just like, everything about this is Andrew Zito. And then I texted that to him, and I was like, the only thing he's missing is the A-frame. And then Andrew Zito's like, already been done. And he shows me the picture, and it just happens to be that he got the A-frame. I'm like, yeah, he needs that next.
So in Sydney, which is about an hour away from me, they just opened the biggest Lego store in the world. And I want to take my kids there. Yeah. I want to take my kids there so bad. It's like multi-story insanity. And they have like a section for everything. There's like a Duplo section and then like a minifigure section. So
over the holidays, I took my son on the bus to the train to the Lego store and back. And at the Lego store, the thing he was the most interested in was the like fill your own little cup with Lego.
Oh yeah.
Which was like a super fun thing. That's what he wanted to do. He was like, I need some of these Legos and those Legos, and it was super fun.
I would hate to think how much that cost.
So it's $20 for like, I would say like a liter of Lego, which
that's not much.
You could fill up with a lot of Lego. When we got home, we built like almost a house out of it. Like there were no walls, but because there's a lot of like flat pieces that we got. So we built like a 2-story house with like the whole everything you could want in a house. That was our goal. There was like a living room and a dining room and a kitchen and a laundry room and like all the different things. No bedroom. We forgot that. Who needs to sleep? But all the different rooms. And he was like, I need to bring this to the Lego store people so they can like see it to see how awesome I am. I'm like, yeah, we should totally do that. We should just take a picture instead. But we should totally do that.
I've looked up Lego for like a project I wanted to do in the past, and it was so expensive to buy per brick. That's
Oh,
nuts.
so buying it per brick, yes. Filling that little Lego cup is just a flat fee based on what they have available.
Right.
And that was the thing. Like, they had like a lot of odd shapes available. They didn't have any like the 2x4s, like the standard rectangular blocks.
Yeah.
They had like a lot of weird shapes, which is great if you need those.
Yeah.
So another thing I found out is, did you have any palm trees growing up? And they had like the little click together palm tree, and it like you could like go back and forth with it.
No.
They're discontinued. They're discontinued. They've been discontinued for years. I did not know this. I have them still.
They'll be worth money soon.
No, they already are, but but soon it's like not going to be worth money because people just 3D print them. But
yes.
True. Quick question. So while you're at the Lego store looking at all the Lego, how productive was your thinking of all the different Lego pieces and what you could make with it all?
Oh, so when I just filled up the cup. My goal was to get the cup as full as possible. So there's like a little bit of a lip at the bottom. So I was like, I need to fill that lip with little tiny bits. So we got a whole bunch of like clear blue triangle light fixture type of things filled. Yep. Don't need any more of those ever in my entire life because that was the small thing, and a whole bunch of little tiny green like singles. Yeah, we don't need any of those. But otherwise,
is it like when you go to the movies? I mean, cinema for the Americans. And you get like a lolly cup and it's all on the wall and you just go up and like scoop out what you want into the cup?
Oh.
Yeah. So in Canada, we have a place called Bulk Barn, and it's that kind of thing. It's the same as that.
Right.
I've never seen that in a movie theater, but...
Yeah, me either.
Oh, really?
That sounds fun. It sounds like a good idea. They're always in malls here.
Well, same here. When I was a kid, they did it, and it's just a clear cup. And if you go to Macca's and get a frozen Coke, it was the exact same cup.
Right.
So, and frozen Cokes were only $1. Well, they still are. So what people would do is go get a $1 frozen Coke, ask them for an extra cup because they wanted to share it with their mate, and then take it to the movie theater and fill it up with lollies.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what we would do is go to Bulk Barn and just fill up a cup and then just hide it in our coats because it's Canada and we have those. But, and speaking about bringing stuff to other places, let's talk a little bit about our topic for the evening. We wanted to talk about making on the road or making outside the shop. And I'll start the discussion off with, I wanted to learn like spoon carving as that type of thing. Like a little Sloyd knife and a little like spoon knife. That was one of the things. And if you watch one of my earlier YouTube videos, I took it with me when I went to Toronto on a business trip, and I made a spoon while I was there. I'm sure the like maids were very confused at what the fuck all these wood shavings were on the balcony.
Probably.
But yeah.
Just the bed's just full of wood shavings.
Oh yeah, completely full. But so that's the question, like what do you do to keep yourself making while you're on the road?
I don't really go on the road, but I mean I go to work every day, which is kind of on the road for me. So I do a lot of my productivity when it comes to projects is while I'm at work. That's when I'm like, I've got my laptop and I'm trying to like make 3D models and work out how I'm going to do things. And I try to do everything that doesn't involve the hands-on activity while I'm at work or while I'm out wherever I am. Yeah. And then even sometimes, to be honest, I do stuff at work that's hands-on as well. Like if I've got standby, for instance, and I'm sitting in my car for 8 hours or sitting in a room for 8 hours, then I'll try and like take something to keep myself productive while I'm there. I've even like taken a can of spray paint and parts that I needed to paint and painted them at work.
Wow. That's a whole next level. That's
impressive. Like literally on the train, I take like a trash bag and then I put all the pieces that I need to paint in my bag, take it all, and then I lay the trash bag out on the ground of the train and give it coats of paint between stations.
I really hope no one who is the one approving your impending promotion is listening right now.
They won't.
So I don't really, honestly, I'm at home most of the time now. Like, let's be entirely truthful about it. I like it and I stay here a lot. But when we lived in the Bay Area, I had a pretty long commute every day because I was both busing and walking. And it was at the time when my Etsy shop was going pretty wild. I was just getting constant orders. So I would just basically do all of my patterns in the morning, put them on the fabric, put the fabric in the hoops, put the hoops in a bag with like all my floss, because I normally store it in like these really awesome plastic boxes. They're kind of like the stuff that beaters use to separate everything, or like hobbyists for all their tiny stuff. And then, yeah, I have a needle book, and I would just take that everywhere because you can get, like a half hour of embroidery in if no one decides to be chatty with you on the bus. So it's like,
Yeah.
it works pretty well. And then for a long time, I also did loom knitting because that was another really easy one. I just needed a crochet hook and my yarn and then like the loom, I guess. I always don't want to call it a loom because it's round and it looks weird. But I would do that too. I've made so many scarves and hats, which was weird for the Bay Area. You don't really need it out there. But
it reminds me about how so many of our like skills are almost lost because of the availability of media at our fingertips.
mm-hmm.
Like it used to be like, oh, you got 30 minutes to spare, knit something, plain something, like whatever you're into, do that thing. Now if I have 30 minutes to spare, I scroll through reels for 30 minutes and do nothing productive at all.
I heard a quote today, which I'll probably fuck up, but it was something along the lines of if you're trying to learn how to do something and you spend more time on social media on your phone than you are trying to learn how to do that thing, you will never learn how to do it.
That's probably true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I will say that if you're in, like, if I want to learn machining and I'm commuting every day, and during my commute, I'm watching machining videos, I'm going to say I'm going to learn something.
Yeah, that's
But
being a bit productive.
it's being a little bit productive. And I think this
Mm.
is the thing, is a lot of people feel like listening to a podcast, watching a YouTube video is a productive use of time if it's a whatever they're doing related podcast or what, like, and I want to say, like, as a person who makes a podcast, like as we are making one right now while you're listening to it, and maybe you're listening to it while you're commuting as the way, or maybe you're just listening to it while you're taking a walk. I don't know what you're doing while you're doing it, listening, but if you're listening to this and you're trying to learn something, go out there and do it. And I think, like Dean Duplantis often says, I hope you don't listen to our podcast because I won't be mad if you don't, because that means you're actually going out there and doing something. And I agree. Like, go out there and do it. Like, stop trying to like pretend that you listen to a podcast so that means you're productive. You're not.
Okay, but what if listening to the podcast is what gets you motivated to walk while listening? Because you're like, I'm going to go for a walk because I've got a podcast to listen to. Or I'm going to lift at the gym because I've got a podcast to listen to.
Sure. Does that make you a better maker?
That's how I use podcasts. I'm not trying to learn stuff. It's enjoyment,
Yeah.
It's my
Right,
reward
that's great.
for doing something hard.
Great. That has nothing to do with whether, but the problem is people trick themselves into thinking that is a productive use of time. Entertainment is a great use of time. Whether or not it's productive is different. And yes, you can use it to supplement a like treadmill activity or going to the gym or whatever you want to do. That doesn't mean that becomes a you're not making while you're listening. If you're going to the gym and you're listening to a maker podcast,
you're building your body, Grant. God,
yeah, true.
Seriously.
Jesse's frozen.
All right, and we're back. Jessy, take it away.
We're back. Okay, so we were just talking about whether being at the gym was productive or not.
Yeah.
And I'm curious.
That's not what I'm trying to say.
Well, that's how I took it.
Okay.
So what were you trying to say then?
So what I'm trying to say is that, so I often will, in my mind, watch a YouTube video and say, well, that's a productive use of my time because I'm a YouTube content creator, which is like you're fooling yourself into thinking that spending time on social media is a good use of your time because that's what you want to do for a living. Right? If you want to become a YouTube content creator, you need to watch YouTube. That's true. You do. You really do, or else you become one of these people who complain about, I don't understand how YouTube works anymore. Right?
I watch YouTube and I still don't know how it works.
No, but like, if you want to be a content creator, like Mr. Beast still gets it. Because guess what? He does a lot of like, you gotta consume to understand. Right?
You reckon Mr. Beast is watching YouTube?
I was just about to say, I think that man is the exception to the rule. YouTube caters to him, not the other way around.
There is no way he has time to watch YouTube. I don't even know how he has time to live a personal life.
If he doesn't watch YouTube, he has someone watching YouTube for him.
Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, he can hire.
Well, what I mean is you need to consume. You need to understand what's happening on YouTube. And if you're in a niche of woodworking, baking, DIY, whatever your niche, your little tiny niche is, you need to understand what it is. And you need to consume to see the trends and respond to them. And there's people I absolutely hate who do this very well. I think they make shit content and I hate them. But they do it really well. No, we're not going to talk about them. But
no names.
No names. You want to hear the names, you join the after show. But I will say, like, there's that's your, if you, I used to do this all the time. I'd say, I'm going to watch like 3 hours of YouTube and that's productive. And it's not.
No.
It's not it is useful, but not productive. And there's a big difference. And if you want to watch or listen to a maker podcast while you commute, that's great. And it might be slightly more productive than listening to music, but it doesn't make your commute a productive use of your day.
Mm.
Like if you're designing on Fusion 360, great, you're doing something. But yeah, Jessy, you're starting to realize.
I'm starting to realize I don't give a fuck about productivity as we're talking. That is not it's not a priority for me in my personal life. I have pushed myself too far, hustled too hard. I just don't care anymore. I put a lot of energy in at work, and that's very important there. But I'm just realizing I never think about that anymore.
That I am starting to have the same, like similar things. Like productivity isn't the end goal for me. It is enjoyment. It's satisfaction. And that can be productive. Like there are times, like the times there are fucking times in my life where I have done more work in a day than most people do in a week. Right. And I've felt good about myself. And I know I can't do that forever. Right. I probably couldn't do it for a week, but I can do it for that day. Right. And I can and I know there's other people who have found a passion. Like we were talking with Ryan last week. He found a passion for making hammers. Great. He wants to turn it into, he did turn it into a business. Great. And he's doing it every day and he's doing it like awesome. Brian House, another great example. He found a passion for belt grinders and he turned that into a business. Right? That's all these things are great, awesome. And that's what drives you. That's great. But that's not what drives everyone. Like some people just want to problem solve. They want to find a problem and solve it. They want to, like Dave Bauer is one of the ones where I think about a lot, where it's like finding a problem just to solve it, making a problem to solve, right? That's the name of his podcast if you're not listening.
Yep.
But that brings us, we've gotten really far off topic, other than when I am traveling, I am looking at ways to solve problems. So one of the things I can't remember who proposed this topic, but I thought about my Swiss Army knife. It might have been Jesse, it might have been Adam, it might have been both.
Pretty sure it was Jesse.
Yeah, I think so. But
I think it was me.
I think
regardless,
I brought it up and you said it would be good, and then I gave an example.
Because Jesse was talking about the fact that she's not going to be here for the 29th.
Right.
And then I said about that makes me think about being productive while you're on the road.
Yeah, there we go. Right. Get the story
straight.
So
I think about that. I think about like how I bring my Swiss Army knife with me everywhere. And that allows me to solve problems and be productive on the road. And make things, whether it be like little like whittling, or whether it be like the little screwdriver thing, I can like the amount of little when I open up a drawer and then the screws are all loose, I tighten them. If I'm at a hotel and all the screws are loose in the drawer, I tighten them all. That's what I do.
I don't do that in other places. I do it in my own home. We have
stuff. I don't even do it in my own home. Wow.
So we had this like thing at my son's classroom where it's like, meet the teacher or whatever, and they had like this little like kitchen thing, and every single screw on this like IKEA kitchen thing was loose, and I just pulled out my Swiss Army knife. No one was looking, and I was like, and I screwed them all back together. I was like, no, because like screws get loose because of seasonal like changes in temperature, and it's like it is a thing. Like every 6 months, you gotta tighten these screws on these stupid, pieces of garbage furniture. Anyways, maybe it's just me. I don't know. Apparently, it's just me.
It's definitely just you.
I do similar things where, like, if I'm in a store, I will straighten. That sort of thing. Like I clean up because I've worked retail so long, but I have never been in public and been like, I'm going to screw that in. That's interesting. No,
that makes me like, speaking of the opposite of that, I don't understand people that can just get up and leave their rubbish and shit behind.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to go clean up someone else's mess, but I would never leave a mess.
I'll clean up other people's mess.
Yeah, I've cleaned up.
I do it all the time. It's like I'll do it and then I'll go like it is a never-ending thing to do.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so while you're traveling, if you don't have a laptop, Adam, because that seems to be the way that you, while commuting. Which, by the way, apparently you don't bring your laptop anymore. That's why you can't edit the podcast sometimes.
I do. I take it when I need to edit. Yeah.
You had that paracord business where you're doing paracord on the train.
That was meant to try and keep me productive.
Yeah.
I got over it.
But like productivity, I don't want to talk about productivity. I want to talk about exercising our creative minds.
Yeah, I think that's where I sort of lost it, is I was trying to make it be productive and not trying to just keep myself busy and my mind busy. And I feel like that's where I started to try and get more into like drawing and that sort of stuff, because I could be more free. Whereas like with the paracord stuff, it was copying other people's designs.
Right. So copying other people's designs is a good way to exercise a skill. But it's not a great way, until you get comfortable. Because no one, like the greatest artists in the world, always had someone else that they saw replicated and then became, better at.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, that was the whole first year of art school was copying other people's work. Right. So then you could go on and do whatever you wanted.
So, we got spoon carving, we got like paracord, we got embroidery hoopy things. I don't know what to call them. Yeah. We got some sort of knitting, crochet and something. Yeah.
Would it be wrong of me to add a grandma filter over Jessy when she's talking about that?
No, because I am secretly 85 years old. I'm pretty sure I have been since I was like 7.
If you think about like the old things people used to carry around with them so that they could be productive while they waited.
Yeah.
What are those things?
Newspaper?
Well, yeah, see, here's the thing. I don't know that our like definition of productivity matches up, because I would think, yeah, newspaper or a book, because then you're still like using your brain, and I consider that productive,
Well,
Totally.
If you're doing like the crosswords and stuff, that's...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good example.
If you're reading, that's productive. Okay, I'm trying to... what to keep their hands from being idle by making things. What are the little... Like, we're on a maker podcast, guys. Let's stop thinking about the things where they...
Ripping up leaves.
Ripping up leaves. You know what? That's an interesting thing. So that brings us to a thing of... They used to, like, take the leaves and, like, create little, like, hats and whatever from the leaves as they were walking by.
I'm sorry, what?
I mean,
what do you mean,
like
what?
that is something that a lot of people...
What are you talking about?
Out of natural
making hats?
Make stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I understand. like a woven basket hat.
Yeah, something.
Thing.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm picturing you making like... I thought you were making like little hats for the leaves, the way you worded it. I was just like, what the fuck?
No wonder you looked so confused.
I was so confused.
I was like, oh no.
I'm like, what, you're making little hats for chipmunks or something? Or
maybe. That sounds like a great way to pass the time. But, so that's the kind of thing, like, if you had a little bit of time and you were, sitting around in the forest, what would you do? I think, like, the little whittling.
Well,
whittling is, like, a great example of something to, like, you can put it in your pocket, you pull it out, whittle a little bit, and then all of a sudden you got to go do something, put it back in your pocket and keep going.
I was about to say, like, whittling would have started somewhere too. Like, someone would have gone, what am I going to do to keep myself busy? I'm going to take a knife and get a stick and whittle something.
Right. Oh, same with, like, engraving or beadwork or all these, like, little things on, like, decorations for, different clothing and articles. I feel like that comes from like boredom, and when you're traveling, boredom comes often, whether or not we want to admit it.
Well, and sometimes I think if we're talking about, in the olden days, what people did, a lot of it was also just out of necessity, and you had to use every little moment that you had because you're getting paid nothing and you're working super long hours. And so, like, I always think about little darning kits that ladies used to keep in their purses, and they would just like bring socks along or a sweater or something that needed to be fixed and use that. Or my grandmother always had a tiny sewing kit in her purse, just in case you had to fix something on the road. Like, I really do think it was necessity, and now unless you're hustling, it's kind of just a hobby. Don't know.
Well, this is where I go, like, we could return that way, and I think we should, in that, like, we should stop, like, throwing everything out. Now, I'll never darn a sock. I'm gonna put that. It's gotta be a zombie apocalypse before I'm darning socks. But, like, I do repair just about every other piece of clothing that gets a hole in it, or gets a rip, or like loses a thread, rips the crotch out. It's gotta be pretty bad before I throw that out. Socks, though, I've decided I make. When you make 6 figures, you should be able to buy socks. That's where I figured. I was like, well, yeah, that too.
Okay, I thought you said when the crotch gets worn out, I'm thinking of undies.
No, the crotch, like when you like do the splits, and then you're like, oh shit, I ripped my pants.
Who the fuck's doing the splits? Is this a pastime of yours?
He's a secret gymnast. We'd had no idea.
Right.
You got to subscribe to his OnlyFans.
Right. So, and I've got none so far, but if you want to see plant splitting, you got to find me on there. All I have to say is, like, I feel like we've are like having, if you go on like the train, the subway, you go sit in a doctor's office, whatever you do where there's a waiting, it's just people looking at their phones. And I feel like a lot of people think, go ahead.
I also see, I tend to do that in situations like that where I can't get away from people. I'm not going to bring my craft in there because then I won't actually get to do it because people will be talking at me. So, like, I use the phone as like a defense against weird conversations. And I think a lot of people do that now.
Right, because it's gotten too weird.
Yeah. One of the Brooklyn Nine-Nine episodes that I watched today, because I'm rewatching them, they were talking about like the break room and stuff and revamping it and that. They ended up putting in a really long table with a phone charger and a pair of headphones in every seat so that everyone can sit there playing on their phone with noise-cancelling headphones on and not have to talk to each other. I'm like, that's literally what everyone does.
But that's the worst.
Yeah.
Because, and this is what I want to say, it's not productive to, like, you're fooling yourself if you think watching all these videos is actually the productive way to spend your time. Get out there and do something. And you know what you should do? You should go out there and make what you fear. Because our friend podcast, Working Hands, has launched their challenge, and now we know the rules. For those who have not listened, you have to make like 5 fucking posts. Just, I know they're like, it's 1 post a day if you post every day. And I'm like, yeah, it's not. Like, that's a lot of posts. Anyways, 5 posts on a project, on something that you've either failed at or it's a new medium or something. Go listen to their podcast. I'm not going to explain it again. But it's something you could do on the road, is posting all these reasons, these videos of why, these posts of why you should make what you fear. But have you guys thought about doing the Make What You Fear challenge?
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, not yet. I haven't even looked into it yet, but I like the idea of it because you talked about it with the previous one that they did. It is a good challenge, but we have to see if my brain cooperates and lets me do stuff.
So, if for those listening, I have a chair in the background. So this chair is already been recovered once before by my grandfather, and now it is in dire need of recovering again. And that might be my Make What You Fear challenge if I can get over the fear of doing it. There's 2 of them, and I want to. They're currently covered in some sort of like fabric, but I want to cover them in leather. And I want to sand all the wood. I don't know what kind of wood it is. Looks kind of mapley. They were in, my grandfather worked at Hotel du Hospital in Kingston. They were the chairs in the doctor's lounge when he worked there. And then they were going to throw them out because they were old. And doctors, especially when my grandfather worked there, which would have been 50 plus years ago, demanded better chairs. They threw them out, and my grandfather, who worked in the kitchen, took them and recovered them. And now they're due for recovering. It's not something I can do on the road, but it is something I can think about on the road.
Well, you could take the leather, take the chair pieces that need to be recovered with you on the road, and then do them somewhere.
That's what big.
Okay, so I was talking about like with work and stuff, right? I took the headrest out of my car and restitched all the stitching with red stitching.
Yeah.
I've never done a big, well, I guess an embroidery project is a big sewing project, but like I've never taken something that big with me, I don't think.
Well, headrest isn't that big. I wouldn't take the whole seat with me.
It is compared to an embroidery hoop. I mean, that is nothing.
No. It's at the size of your head, which is the size of a headrest.
Sir, it's flat though. This is why I'm like, look how thin that is. I can take 10 of these with me.
Okay, 10 of those would be the size of one headrest.
Mm-hmm. And then I'd be more productive than you.
There you go.
Boom. I like, you know what? I like this new Jessy who's giving the shit to Adam. This should be the new thing. Yeah. I think you two should think about a Make What You Fear project. Because one, those guys are great and they put on a good podcast, the Working Hands podcast. And two, I would really like to see what you guys fear, so I can use that against you in the future. But you know who I don't fear?
Our
patrons.
Yeah, so I especially want to thank our F-Clamp level supporters, the Scott from Dad It Yourself DIY, Joe Herdina, David Wood from DW Wood Builds, Brad from I'm Gonna Make, and Chad from Chad's Custom Creations, and everyone else who supports us over there on Patreon. Everyone who supports us gets access to the after show, as well as some Patreon exclusive chats over on our Discord, a custom leather keychain, and everyone gets entered into the Gnome Hammer Forge hammer draw that happens monthly. So that's like a super new benefit. That's super cool. That Ryan, if you didn't listen to our last episode, he's a great guy who is making really cool hammers. That's the hammer I use when I'm blacksmithing. So go on over to patreon.com/clamp and you can get all those benefits for as little as $1 per episode. That means if while you're commuting or sanding or whatever you do while you listen to podcasts, if you felt like you got $1, which is less than a coffee worth of value out of this, go on over there and say, I'd like to support. We'd really appreciate it. And if you can't support, we understand. We'd really appreciate you just like right now, go on Instagram and share the episode and link us and say, these are the best podcasts ever. Especially this episode right now where episode 178, Grant's the best. Right now, share this exact part. We'd really appreciate it. And on that, CLAMPmendations.
CLAMPmendations.
Well, my CLAMPmendation for this week is a movie that came out around Christmas time, I think it was. It came out 2023, I know that. And it's a Christmas movie. Well, it is. And I'm just going to read what it says on Google because I'm bad with explaining things. But essentially, on Christmas Eve, a man witnesses the death of his young son when the boy gets caught in crossfire between warring gangs. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Recovering from a wound that cost him his voice, he soon embarks on a bloody and grueling quest to punish those responsible. So the movie's called Silent Night. It was really, really good.
I just looked it up on IMDb, and I have to say it's already looking good because it has Joel Kinnaman and Kid Cudi. Like, that's fantastic. So I hate Christmas, but I might have to try it.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Wow.
And then my CLAMPmendation. So this week I am recommending Brooklyn Tonia on Instructables. She is an art teacher. She's been on the website forever. I think since 2011, I'm pretty sure. So a very long time. And I think she's posted about 150 Instructables. And I just wanted to call out a few to show you sort of like the depth and breadth of what she does. So transformable leather sculpted earrings. These are beautiful, and it's just simple cuts on leather and twisting it a certain way. The pocket watch pinhole camera, another project that is really interesting scientifically and also very pleasing aesthetically. Like, it's really nice looking. Victorian inspired hair jewelry. Have either of y'all heard about hair jewelry? Have you seen it or looked into it ever?
I'm going to assume it's like a butterfly clip.
I don't have enough hair to have jewelry stick to it.
That's true.
I would love to decorate my hair with some jewelry, but everyone who makes it is like, no, you need to have some.
You just have to glue stuff
Is
to
it
your head.
braided
That's what my
in?
mom
Oh,
used
okay.
to do with me. But this is actually not jewelry for hair. It is jewelry made from hair.
Oh,
So, yes.
Well, guess
I
what?
saw
You still need
someone.
to have more hair to do it.
Yes, I
No,
know, but I just wanted to clarify what it was.
I saw a reel the other day of someone that made matching rings for someone, and inside of like the inner part of the ring where they put like resin was like the opposite person from the couple's hair.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know
a
if it
cool
was.
idea.
It looked like pubes, but I don't know what
Oh,
part of the hair
no.
it was. And all of the comments were like, everyone was so grossed out by it.
If
Yeah,
that's
I
what
see.
you're into,
When I visualize that, I think taking like longer sections of hair and wrapping it around and how
I don't know.
pretty that would be.
This
It sounds
looks like
they did
hair.
it wrong.
This looks like someone had like taken the shavings out of the sink after the guy had shaved, like tiny little
no.
short hairs.
Oh, that's so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that. Victorian hair jewelry is actually beautiful and really interesting. So I would say anybody who hasn't seen it should look it up. It's wild. Like I probably only found out about it 10 years ago, and yeah, it's really nuts. And then the last Instructable I wanted to recommend, she did one with her class called Stop Motion in Mass, and just sort of showed the process of making stop motions with a lot of kids. And I thought it was super fun. It was one that I added to my like teacher approved Instructables collection because yeah, she just seems to have a great classroom, and I love everything she does.
Cool.
that's really cool. Looking at her Instructables, one of the things I see is where is it? The scrap leather scales, which is
Mm-hmm.
100% what I've always thought to do with all my scrap leather. And then I put it in the garbage, and I don't do that. But if you have a bunch of scrap leather, I feel like if I was one of those people who was like, I could save this and make something out of it, and then did, that is what you could do. Like little bits of like scale armor with little bits of scrap
Mm-hmm.
leather, it would be wonderful. And she has a
Oh,
really
and I've
cool
wanted
giant,
to do it. Oh, go ahead.
you know,
I was just going to say, I have wanted to do the scrap leather scales Instructable for a long time. I was just thinking about ordering like remnant bags of,
oh yeah.
crazy colored chrome leather, like chrome tanned leather, because that would probably be a really cool way to get like kind of iridescent wings or like a armor piece. I don't know. I've always thought about it and haven't done it.
I will say that it didn't win in the challenge because I got the grand prize in that particular one, but
Oh, fancy.
just saying. And Ethan Carter got he was below me in that challenge as well. But
Rubbing it in,
just gonna put
Grant.
that.
My goodness.
Sorry, Ethan. Every time me and Ethan have been in a challenge, I beat him. But he's a cool guy. You know, whatever. I will. I'm sorry. It's just like
You
a little thing I have
have to
with
be
Ethan.
nicest man.
Ethan is the nicest man. But I have a little thing with Ethan because everyone's like, "Oh, Ethan's the best at leatherwork. If you're interested in leatherwork, you should follow him." I'm like, but I make better Instructables than Ethan when it comes to leatherwork. It's just this little fun thing. But he's a better leather worker. I just make better instructions. That's, I think, all the difference. So I'm gonna recommend everyone check out NOLA Works. It's they got a GoFundMe right now, which NOLA Works in New Orleans. I can't remember what the LA, but it's a New Orleans maker space that they're trying to make like a publicly or not publicly funded, but a nonprofit, and they're trying to raise some money to make it a nonprofit, and everyone should go check it out. And if you're interested in supporting a nonprofit maker space, then you should go donate to them. It's on GoFundMe, like Grow NOLA Works. I believe if you search for that, you can find it out. And our friend of the podcast, Jacob from Maker Cuisine, is trying to help that out. So go check it out. Now than that, let's go on over to Ask Us Anything.
Ask Us Anything. Okay, so the Ask Us Anything for this week is D.W. Woodbuilds. And the question is, who is your favorite author and why? My favorite author is Philip Pullman. He writes sci-fi fantasy. It's often classed as young adult, but I think it's actually a bit above that level. His major book series is His Dark Materials. That might sound familiar to some people because they did do a couple of movies. And it's kind of hard to explain, but it is one of the biggest, I think, fantasy series that I've read. Just because, I don't know, the world is so big and you actually have sort of parallel universes happening, and it's pretty amazing. There are armored bears, if that sells it to anybody, and it should, because Yorick is my favorite.
Makes it much more interesting to me, that's for sure.
There's a cowboy named Lee Scoresby who drives around in a hot balloon with... and also I should say that in this series, everyone has an animal companion that is called their demon.
That's fun.
And it is essentially linked to their soul. So you can kind of tell what a person is based on their animal, which is also really interesting. But yeah, I recommend anything that he's done.
To just like making a little aside, what would your animal companion be? And you have 10 seconds to think about it.
Probably a snow leopard.
Okay, Adam.
Yes.
Did you hear the
animal companion?
Say? Okay.
My animal companion is a monkey.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
What about you, Grant?
My animal companion, I need 10 seconds to think about it. I want to say like a porcupine.
Oh, that's a good one for you.
Interesting.
Misunderstood. So, who's my favorite author? I would say the person who I have the most books from, which was where I would say who is my favorite author, right? Like that's where I go like, I own more books of him. Whether or not I consciously recognize them as my favorite author or not. But I would say Nick Offerman is the person I have the most books of. I really like his like word choice. I would actually like to get him on the podcast to just discuss like how his like choice of words and why that's important. Because I think he uses words really well and really intentionally in a way that I'm not able to do because I'm stupid and he's smart. So, yeah.
Your brains are just wired differently. It's not anything about stupid or smart.
Yeah, his is wired smartly. Mine's wired stupidly.
I just want to know how he pulls out a tooth without it hurting.
Well, let's get him on. Hey, Nick, or Jimmy, if you're listening.
You don't
hey,
get
Jimmy,
that reference.
Can you tell? Yeah.
No, I have no idea.
Hey, Jimmy, if you're listening,
I'll send you the clip.
Ask Nick to come on the podcast so we can ask him about the tooth.
So my favorite author is DC Parlov. No,
okay, who's that? What do they do?
If people get it, they get it. No, my real favorite author is Sugumi Oba, who is the guy that wrote Death Note.
Okay.
Ah, okay. Yeah, one of my nephews really likes that. I've never read or watched any of it. It's something that is just
so good.
I don't know why I've never gotten into it.
Just don't watch the Netflix movie because they butchered it. You've got to watch the actual TV show. I mean, the movie's not too bad. I enjoy watching it, but it's nothing compared to the actual manga and the real TV series, like not the movie.
I need to read more manga. Honestly.
I don't. I want to thank TF Turning for the theme song, and I want to thank everyone for listening. If you want to find us, you can find us collectively at all the usual social media places that are useful. At Clampcast, Clampstagram, Clampbook, not Clampter. But if you really enjoyed the show, go on to Apple Podcasts because apparently they own 70% of the market. And if you could go on to iTunes, and if you're listening to this, please just leave us a review. Any review would be appreciated. 5 stars, the best. We appreciate it. 4 stars, okay, I appreciate it. 3 stars, we'll still read it. 2 stars, whatever. You want to give us a 1-star review? It's still a review. We appreciate it. We'll learn from it.
Bye.
We'll get better.
Bye.
Bye.